House, even though the government doesn't.
Mark Mitchell.
Mr Speaker, it's a pleasure to take a call on this, the financial reporting bill. It was a pleasure to be in the House. I'm sure my colleagues will agree to hear Raymond Ho's maiden speech. I'll be rushing back to my office later to watch that again. It was so compelling. You know, Mr Speaker, I thought it was a bit unfair of my colleague to refer to Mr Cosgrove and Mr Clark as the two Ronnies. I have to say that I think that Arkwright and Granville would be far more accurate. They're both working hard to keep the Labor shop open. I'm not sure who Gladys Emmanuel would be, but they're both working very hard to keep their shop open. Mr Speaker, this bill is a very important bill for small businesses, and it's been great in the House tonight to listen to the Greens, New Zealand First and Labor all commend the Minister Foss, for bringing such a good bill to the House, and I'm sure that Mana will also join them in congratulating Minister Foss on such a good bill. I'd like to talk about the fact that this bill is just part of a much bigger program that the National Government are implementing to make sure that compliance costs and savings are put in place for our small businesses. It was a very good point that was made before that small and medium-sized businesses make up to 97% of enterprises in New Zealand. Family businesses and owner-operated enterprises make up to 60% of enterprises.
How many? 60%?
Mr Speaker, I'd just like to talk about our party, actually the wider party, and our electorate organisation, and the type of work that they're doing behind the scenes to assist as well. And I'd like to talk about a very good remit that was brought to one of our regional conferences recently, and it's a members' bill that I've picked up, and it's now on the ballot, and it's an amendment to the Disputes Tribunal bill. And what it does is it raises the claim amount from 15,000. No, this is good, Mr Cosgrove. Listen, it raises the dispute amount from 15,000 to 30,000. What this does is that it means that small and medium-sized businesses can now, instead of forfeiting part of their claim, can take it to the Disputes Tribunal. It can save them a lot of money. It prevents them having to take it to district court, which is very costly and out of the reach of a lot of small businesses. I'm using that as an example, Mr Speaker, of another very good initiative that's not being driven necessarily by the parliamentary wing, but this is driven by our members out in the electorates.
Right.
What's being driven by the Labor Party members? Let's see what sort of remits they've just had at their conference. Yeah, absolutely right. They've just put up a remit that has allowed the Labor Party to be captured by the unions.
Point of order by the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Mr Speaker, your predecessor indicated, and we agree, that this is quite a wide-ranging debate, but I just fail to see, this is the financial reporting bill, what other parties' remit books or policies or small claims courts or anything, none of that's mentioned in this bill. There's some 140, 150 odd pages. So I'd just ask you to bring the member back to the bill.
Well, while I can appreciate the member's concern, I can also quote him Speaker's Rulings 46(2), and we give a little bit of leeway. But I would ask the member to try and talk to the bill.
Speaker.
That would help. Thank you.
So, Mr Speaker, I'd just like to come back and say that and just point out some other very good measures this government's put in place. Levies for businesses are reduced by 22%, a saving of $247 million or $1,120 a year for the average small business with, say, 7 employees. A big impact, Mr Speaker, something that's fairly significant to small businesses that are often working on tight margins. We haven't bowed to political pressure and sunk businesses by putting the minimum wage up to $15 an hour. Mr Speaker, I ran a series of 4 business forums in my electorate of Rodney this year where I got small business, medium-sized business owners together, and one of the things that they did, they continually told me, and this was coming from small business owners, this is not coming from politicians, it's not coming from anyone, it's actually coming from the people that are actually running these small businesses. They said, yeah, we would like to pay our people more, and we will pay our people more when we afford it. But we'll tell you what will happen if you decide to put a minimum wage at $15 an hour. The people that are on $15 an hour now want to go to 17. The ones that are on 17 want to go to 19. And it will have a flow-on effect, and it will put pressure on small businesses, and they'll start having to lay people off. And that's what the Labor Party's about, is wanting to lay people off their jobs. Mr Speaker, good business growth with investment in infrastructure. We're investing heavily in the state highway network and delivering significant productivity gains over time. I'd just like to draw, Mr Speaker, to your attention the importance of the Puhoi to Wellsford motorway. This is going to open up Northland. It's going to create commerce. It's going to create jobs. And you know, the opposition keep referring this as to a holiday highway. I invite Phil Twyford. Where is Phil Twyford? I'd like him to come up to Rodney with me. I'll put on some meetings with the locals, and we'll see what they have to tell him whether or not that is a holiday highway. It is a slap in the face for everyone that lives in Rodney and North Auckland. So, Mr Speaker, I'd just like to say this is a very good bill. I commend I look forward to receiving it at the Commerce Select Committee, and I commend it to the House. Thank you.
Point of order.
Point of order, the Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Mr Speaker, given that this is the last call, I think, in this debate, I seek leave for an extension of time of approximately 10 minutes.
No.
To allow the Mistress of Business to take a call on any...
The question is that the motion be agreed to. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it.
Financial Reporting Bill, first reading.
The question is that the Financial Reporting Bill be considered by the Commerce Committee. Those of that opinion will please say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Right, honourable members, seeing we got through that okay, after Mr Cosgrove's intervention, I'll call on Government Order of the Day number 3.
State Sector and Public Finance Reform Bill, first reading.
Mr Speaker.
I call the Honourable Minister, Jonathan Coleman.
Mr Speaker, I move that